So we all know the ATEM Mini line from Blackmagic is an absolute marvel. I don't know what YouTubers or content creators, what we all did before this line existed, and thank goodness Blackmagic somehow had the foresight to release it just before and as the pandemic started rolling in spring of 2020. Now, a year later, there are plenty of alternatives on the market, and some of them have some really, really cool features like built-in monitors or touchscreens, but the one thing the ATEM Mini line still has going for it that I don't see rivaled anywhere else, unless I've somehow missed it, is their audio capabilities. Yes, there are two 3.5 millimeter line in or mic in inputs built in, plus a ton of powerful audio processing in the ATEM Mini software itself, from expanders to gates to compressors, audio, delay, latency, sync, just there are so many incredible options. But the question is, how does the audio quality of the ATEM Mini directly compare to capturing your audio independently with perhaps dedicated audio preamps like a portable audio recorder or an audio interface, and then syncing either in post or in the computer before it heads off to a live stream? That's what we're testing in this video, so let's get into it. Hey, I'm Brian Miller, and welcome to Audio for Content Creators, where we help you sound better and level up for all your content creation needs. This is going to be a quick series of blind audio comparisons with 3 different types of microphones, comparing, again, going directly into the ATEM Mini versus capturing independently, and then you could end up syncing that in post or in the computer before it goes off to a live stream. If you just want to skip all the context and go listen to the samples, go right here to this time code, whatever it says right here. But for the rest of us who actually care about what we're listening to and why it matters, here is the quick context. The first test will be the Movo VXR10 budget on-camera shotgun mic. It's a $40 microphone, very, very popular out there among content creators. We'll have it about 10 inches away and just be capturing kind of roomy audio, both directly into the ATEM Mini and captured via a portable audio recorder, the Tascam DR-05X. Then we'll test a lav mic. This is the lav mic that comes with the Tascam DR-10L system. We will plug it directly into the ATEM Mini, and we will also capture it into this, the DR-10L portable audio recorder. And finally, we'll do a very tricky sort of a test. We'll actually take a professional podcasting microphone, a large diaphragm condenser, an XLR. We'll actually use the Movo VSM-7 for this test, and we'll capture that both directly into my Tascam Model 12, which is this big mixer interface recorder console. So we'll capture it directly on the board, and we will run out of the board into the ATEM Mini and capture it that way. So that's kind of an interesting test, capturing it directly to an SD card on the Model 12 versus going through the Model 12 and then syncing it directly into the ATEM Mini. This is something you could also do with a portable audio recorder that has XLR inputs like the Tascam DR-40 or a Zoom H4n, H5, H6, etc. And of course you could do this with an audio interface like a PreSonus audio box or a Focusrite 2i2 or something like that. Over the years of doing audio reviews, I have found the absolute best and fairest way to do this review, this comparison, is to do it blind. So during the 3 different tests, you will see either an A or a B on the screen. I want you to go ahead and as you listen, write down which one you think sounds better, A or B. Now, these are going to be subtle differences, probably. I think, I don't know, I haven't done the test yet. So you definitely want to have a good set of headphones on, or at the bare minimum, some earbuds, and be sitting in kind of a quiet location so you can really focus on the nuances. Then after the tests, I will give you a chance to figure out your final thoughts before I reveal which one was which, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on whether it's worth going directly to the ATEM Mini or if it's actually worth the trouble of capturing separately and syncing later. Okay, enough from me, let's get into the tests. Our inability to multitask is why magicians regularly preach, don't talk while you move, and don't move while you talk. The audience can either listen to what you're saying or look at what you're doing, but they can't do both at the same time. Our inability to multitask is why magicians regularly preach, don't talk while you move, and don't move while you talk. The audience can neither listen to what you're saying or look at what you're doing, but they can't do both at the same time. Our inability to multitask is why magicians regularly preach, don't talk while you move, and don't move while you talk. The audience can either listen to what you're saying or look at what you're doing, but they can't do both at the same time. Our inability to multitask is why magicians regularly preach, don't talk while you move, and don't move while you talk. The audience can either listen to what you're saying or look at what you're doing, but they can't do both at the same time. Our inability to multitask is why magicians regularly preach, don't talk while you move, and don't move while you talk. The audience can either listen to what you're saying or look at what you're doing, but they can't do both at the same time. Our inability to multitask is why magicians regularly preach, don't talk while you move, and don't move while you talk. The audience can either listen to what you're saying or look at what you're doing, but they can't do both at the same time. Well, that's it for the blind tests. In just a second, I'm going to reveal which one was which in each test, so go ahead, write it down in the comments, commit A or B for each of the 3 tests. Which one did you like better in each test? Put it in the comments right now, commit, and then once you find out in just a few seconds which one was which, you can reply to your own comment and we can all see publicly which we thought was better. Ready? You're gonna find out in 5, 4, 3, 2, that was awkward, 1. So I just finished listening to all 3 comparisons, and I can tell you without a doubt that you're going to want to record independently, capture independently, and sync and post, or connect the audio with the video for your live stream in the computer. If you can avoid going directly into the ATEM, you probably should. Now, the ATEM audio directly was fine. It was passable, but what hopefully you noticed, what I noticed right away, was that it was hissy. There was a lot more noise being generated by the ATEM, and that just comes down to the fact that the preamps, the audio preamps built into the ATEM itself, they're maybe a step above a camera's preamps, which are usually pretty terrible, maybe a step above a smartphone, but not much. Now, we weren't taking advantage of any of the software processing that you can do in the ATEM. We were in the, we were just using the raw audio directly into the ATEM. So here's what I noticed. When it came to the VXR10 or the Lav mic going directly into the ATEM with no preamp or anything else in between it, straight in, it sounded hissy. It sounded brittle, if that's a way to describe it. Maybe that makes sense to you. It didn't just have extra background noise and hiss and hum, but it also, it sounded like it was kind of falling apart, the audio, a little bit. Whereas when the VXR10 was going into the DR-05X or when the Lav mic was going into the DR-10L, these are dedicated audio recorders, which means they have dedicated preamps. That's all these are designed to do. And they're built by Tascam, who typically make very, very high quality preamps, even at the consumer price point. And so they sounded, first of all, much less noisy. There was much less hiss, but they were also warmer. They felt stable. The thing is, when you listen to the podcast mic, the VSM-7 from Movo, that sounded almost identical from the Model 12 captured directly to the sync with the ATEM, right? Coming out of the Model 12 into the ATEM. Those 2 recordings sounded almost identical. In fact, I would say imperceptible unless you really knew what you were listening to. And the reason those 2 sounded identical was because we got all of the benefit of the Tascam preamps, the high quality, warm, wonderful Tascam preamps in the Model 12 before it went into the ATEM. And so my big takeaway here is, if you want to get the advantage of syncing your audio with your video on the ATEM before it hits the computer, before it goes to a live stream, then you might consider first running into a dedicated audio preamp. For example, you could run from the VXR10 into the Tascam DR-05X, take advantage of this, and then go from the line out of the Tascam into the ATEM Mini, and that way you can sync it before it hits the computer. But in that case, you're going to get less hiss and a warmer sound because you're taking advantage of this preamp and you're not relying on the ATEM's preamp. And of course, the same could be said for the Lav mic. So I would highly encourage you to run your microphones through a decent preamp before you sync to the ATEM Mini. Now, does that mean nobody should ever plug their mic directly into the ATEM? Of course not. It all depends on what you're prioritizing. If your priority is the lowest friction or no friction, most efficient, fastest process for capturing your content or live streaming, then yeah, just plug directly into the ATEM. Just know that you're going to be sacrificing audio quality by quite a degree, given the amount of hiss and the brittle quality of those recordings. But if you want audio to be a priority, if it really matters to you, if you think that audio, the quality of the audio is something your audience might care about, and most audiences do in 2021, then you should really consider at least running it through something, even a consumer grade $70 product like this. Okay, we've beaten this dead horse into the ground. Thanks so much for sticking with me. I wanna know from you, did you hear a significant difference in quality? What would you do if you were in this situation, or if you are in this situation? Have I convinced you, if you were going directly into the ATEM, to switch to a different method? Let me know in the comments. And whatever else you wanna know about audio related to the ATEM Mini, go ahead and leave that in the comments as well. If you want tutorials or overviews or workflows for the software aspect of the audio for the ATEM Mini, feel free to let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll get around to that. Thanks so much for sticking with me. My name is Brian Miller. Always remember, our world is a shared experience. Every interaction is meaningful, and every person you meet, even virtually, is important. Come back anytime to sound better and level up, and we'll see you soon. I cannot believe it took me 2.5 hours to produce this video, and now I have to edit it. I thought this was gonna be a 30-minute process. I can't believe how many retakes I just did, how complicated this was to put together. Oh, good luck to me in the future when I edit this.